So I flew in the military for 20 years, and then I got a job with the airline and moved here. And after about 5 years of trying to do that the way I thought I was, the way I'd always heard it was supposed to be, I had a close encounter with Jesus and changed. A year or two after that, I had a chance to fly with a captain who everybody knew was a Christian, and he was a deacon in his mega church, and so we had some interesting conversations. But it got really interesting one afternoon when the lead flight attendant came up and with a problem, asking for his advice. Hi, Scott. Jordan. She had one flight attendant who wouldn't work. For 2 flights, she had just sat in the back galley crying. And the lead couldn't get her to work. And so she was thinking about writing her up for disciplinary action. Well, the captain and I both suggested she try a little more compassionate approach. And she must have taken us at our word, because the next thing we knew, the young woman was calling up to see if she could come talk to us. Okay, you guys try it if you think that's a great idea. So here's this young woman pouring her heart out to a couple upper middle-aged guys about the problem she's having with her boyfriend. So, being the helpful types, we launched into trying to fix the situation. Have you tried talking to him? Have you been to counseling? Every question we asked her, she had tried and it hadn't done a thing. Well, we were running out of time. We had, we are on a schedule, but there was one question that we hadn't asked. So I just threw it out there. Do you have any religious faith? She said, well, you go to church. I looked at the captain. Nothing. Finally, I couldn't stand it. I said, I'm not talking about going to church. I'm talking about looking up from the pit that you're in and seeing that the Lord is standing next to you with his hand out, ready to help you up on your feet and ready to walk with you wherever the road leads. Well, we had to finish. We had to cut it off. So I don't know how she responded, but I was at the cockpit door when she got off the plane, and she did turn around on the jetway and give me a little smile, which was the first smile anybody had seen out of her on that trip. So I felt okay about what had happened. But it was a nice thing to have done, but it was what I could manage at that point in my faith, but it didn't really change the fact that I saw my role as a Christian as something, a neat little good deed, but not affecting my professional role. You see, which I had developed over my years in the military. During that military time, I saw dozens of my squadron mates killed in a variety of mishaps. Dozens. And so to me, safety was not just a word. It was life. And the two things that I saw as very important was, one, good training and good scheduling. In other words, don't overtask somebody. Make sure they have time for rest, time for meals. When I went to the airline, I didn't have control over either of those things, but the company had excellent training, and the union was deeply engaged in work rules. So I felt like I was part of a team that was continuing what I saw as my professional goals. Well, over the years that followed this incident, the scheduling thing crumbled. There were financial crises in the company. There were like strong economic pressures from the whole industry consolidating, and computers were getting really good at cutting labor costs, which meant that my experience was every vacation getting canceled, 12 to 14-hour work days, layovers that were barely long enough to get a night's sleep, and much less any meal, spending every holiday away from home, every kid's birthday gone. And finally, it really got to me. One Sunday morning, I was at a little airport chapel with a few passengers worshiping, and I just burst into sobs that I could not stop. And I knew, this is not right. This has to change. And so I called the company. I said, find somebody else to fly my next couple trips, because I'm not coming to work. After that 2 weeks, I realized that safety was not my role. That was a given. You know, that's not even worth talking about. My role was to be a servant to everybody I encountered in my work. Crew members, passengers, gate agents, random people in the terminal. And I started every crew briefing. I would wrap it up, say, I'm here for you. Your needs are my command. And whether it's professional or otherwise, I'm here for you. And that's when the miracles started to happen. I'm just going to share one with you, because you already met the main character. Now, I should say that in this industry, you rarely work with anybody twice. There's so many people doing so many different things. If you run into somebody you know a few times a year, it's a real joy. So, last leg of this 5-day trip, coming home, I get on the plane, and among the flight attendants, there's this young woman. And they're all clustered around her, and they apparently haven't seen her in a while. And anyway, we had to go, so quick briefing, do the flight. By the time I finished the paperwork, at the end of the flight, everybody was gone. But I went out in the terminal, and there they were, gabbing, the whole crew. And this time I could tell what it was about. She was just back from maternity leave. And she had plenty of stories and plenty of pictures that she was sharing with her colleagues. I don't know how she got from A to B. I don't know what happened. God works through lots of other people besides me, lots of circumstances to make that a reality. But what I got out from it was, I didn't need to know how it happened. I did what I did. So, whenever you plant a seed, or whenever you tend the garden, don't worry about it. God's going to use it. And you're just enabling God to take the next step with some other players. So, thank God.